Today, on Listen to This, at writer Susan Stotterell will begin reading one chapter a week from Mark Twain's A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Although the original book cover shown here leaves out the word Connecticut in the title, all the titles inside the book read The Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Now, just because the book was published in 1889 doesn't mean that its satirical work is boring or irrelevant today. It tells the story of a man named Hake Morgan, who was a 19th century Yankee engineer from Connecticut. He is mysteriously transported back in time to the court of King Arthur in the 6th century. A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. A word of explanation. It was in Warwick Castle that I came across the curious stranger who I am going to talk about. He attracted me by three things: his candid simplicity, his marvelous familiarity with ancient armor, and the restlessness of his company, for he did all the talking. We fell together as modest people will in the tail of the herd that was being shown through, and he at once began to say things which interested me. As he talked along, softly, pleasantly, flowingly, he seemed to drift away imperceptibly, out of this world and time, and into some remote era and old forgotten country. And so he gradually wove such a spell about me that I seemed to move among the specters and shadows and dusts and molds of a gray antiquity, holding speech with a relic of it. Exactly as I would speak of my nearest person, friends, or enemies, or my most familiar neighbors, he spoke of Sir Bedivere, Sir Bors de Ganis, Sir Launcelot of the Lake, Sir Galahad, and all the other great names of the Table Round. And how old, old, unspeakably old, and faded and dry, and musty and ancient he came to look as he went on. Presently he turned to me and said, just as one might speak of the weather, or any other common matter: you know about transmigration of souls. Do you know about transposition of epics and bodies? I said I had not heard of it. He was so little interested, just as when people speak of the weather, that he did not notice whether I made him an answer or not. There was half a moment of silence, immediately interrupted by the droning voice of the salaried cicerone. Ancient Hoburg, dated of the 6th century, time of King Arthur and the Round Table, said to have belonged to the knight Sir Sagamore le Desirous. Observe the round hole through the chain mail in the left breast. Can't be accounted for. Supposed to have been done with a bullet since invention of firearms, perhaps maliciously by Cromwell's soldiers. My acquaintance smiled, not a modern smile, but one that must have gone out of general use many, many centuries ago, and muttered apparently to himself, wit ye well, I saw it done. Then, after a pause, added, I did it myself. By the time I had recovered from the electric surprise of this remark, he was gone. All that evening I sat by my fire at the Warwick Arms, steeped in a dream of the golden time, while the rain beat upon the windows and the wind roared about the eaves and corners. From time to time I dipped into old Sir Thomas Malory's enchanting book and fed at its rich feast of prodigies and adventures, breathed in the fragrance of the obsolete names, and dreamed again. Midnight being come at length, I read another tale for a nightcap. This is which here follows, to wit: How Sir Launcelot slew two giants and made a castle free. Anon, withal came there upon him two great giants, well armed, all save the heads, with two horrible clubs in their hands. Sir Launcelot put his shield afore him, and put the stroke away of the one giant, and with his sword he clave his head asunder. When his fellows saw that, he ran away as he were wood, for fear of the horrible strokes, and Sir Launcelot after him with all his might, and smote him on the shoulder, and clave him to the middle. Then Sir Launcelot went into the hall, and there came afore him threescore ladies and damsels, and all kneeled unto him, and thanked God and him of their deliverance. For, sir, said they, the most part of us have been here this 7 year their prisoners. and we have worked all manner of silk works for our meat. And we are all great and gentle women born, and blessed to be the time, knight that ever were born. For thou hast done the most worship that ever did knight in the world, that we will bear record, and we will all pray you to tell us your name, that we may tell our friends who delivered us out of prison. Fair damsels, he said, my name is Sir Launcelot du Lake. So he departed from them and betaught them unto God. And then he mounted upon his horse and rode into many strange and wild countries, and through many waters and valleys, and evil was he lodged. And at the last, by fortune him happened against a knight to come to a fair courtelage, and therein he found an old gentlewoman that lodged him with a good will, and there he had his good cheer for him and his horse. And when time was, his host brought him into a fair garret over the gate to his bed. There Sir Launcelot unarmed him, and set his harness by him, and went to bed, and anon fell on sleep. So soon after there came one on horseback and knocked at the gate in great haste. And when Sir Launcelot heard this, he rose up and looked out at the window, and saw by the moonlight 3 knights come riding after that one man. And all 3 lashed on him at once with swords. That one knight turned on them knightly again, and defended him. Truly, said Sir Launcelot, yonder one knight shall I help, or it were shame for me to see 3 knights on one, and if he be slain, I am partner of his death. And therewith he took his harness and went out at a window by a sheet, down to the 4 knights, and then Sir Launcelot said on high, turn your knights unto me, and leave your fighting with that knight. And then they all 3 left Sir Kay and turned unto Sir Launcelot, and there began great battle, for they alight all 3, and strake many strokes at Sir Launcelot, and assailed him on every side. Then Sir Kay dressed him for him to have holpen Sir Launcelot. Nay, sir, said he, I will none of your help. Therefore, as ye will have my help, let me alone with them. Sir Kay, for the pleasure of the knight, suffered him for to do his will, and so stood aside. And then anon, within 6 strokes, Sir Launcelot had stricken them to the earth. And then they all 3 cried, Sir Knight, we yield unto you as man of might matchless. As to that, said Sir Launcelot, I will not take your yielding unto me, and so that ye yield unto Sir Kay, the seneschal. On that covenant I will save your lives, and else not. Fair knights, said they, that were we loath to do, for as for Sir Kay, we chased him hither, and had overcome him, had ye not been. Therefore, to yield us unto him, if it were no reason. Well, as to that, said Sir Launcelot, advise you well, for ye may choose whether ye will die or live. For an ye be yielden, it shall be unto Sir Kay. Fair knight, then they said, in saving our lives, we will do as thou commandest us. Then shall ye, said Sir Launcelot, on Whitsunday next coming, go unto the court of King Arthur, and there shall ye yield you unto Queen Guinevere, and put you all 3 in her grace and mercy, and say that Sir Kay sent you thither to be her prisoners. On the morn Sir Launcelot arose early, and left Sir Kay sleeping, and Sir Launcelot took Sir Kay's armor and his shield, and armed him. And so he went to the stable, and took his horse, and took his leave of his host, and so he departed. Then soon after arose Sir Kay, and missed Sir Launcelot, and then he espied that he had his armor and his horse. Now by my faith, I know well that he will grieve some of the court of King Arthur, for on him knights will be bold, and deem that it is I, and that will beguile them. And because of his armor and shield, I am sure I shall ride in peace. And then soon after departed Sir Kay, and thanked his host. As I laid the book down, there was a knock at the door, and my stranger came in, and I gave him a pipe and a chair, and made him welcome. I also comforted him with a hot Scotch whisky, gave him another one, and then still another, hoping always for his story. After a 4th persuader, he drifted into it himself, in a quite simple and natural way. Next week, you'll hear the story of the stranger.